some of your biggest challenges with the writing process? So, like, with the writing process itself, writing, just the whole self-published author thing.
That's a good question because there's just so many.
So many challenges.
So many challenges. Oh, boy. I mean, the biggest one for me is my toddler because I have a son. And, I find that I have more time than when I was working my full-time job, but it's very draining and your time is split more. So, I have more time, but it's like I have 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes here. And I'm someone who, if I'm working, I need to sit down for a couple hours and really get into it. And, you want to make time for family time and things like that. And I found that being with a toddler all day, even a baby when he was younger, it just kind of rots your brain. And you really, like, how do I talk? What are adult themes? What is characterization? We've been singing Baby Shark all day. Like, it's
right.
So
it's like switching back into adult mode.
Yes, exactly. So I find that difficult, especially when it's like, okay, he's playing with this over here. I'm going to sit down and write for a little bit. It's like my brain isn't there. And for me, I think for most people, you got to have the creative juices flowing if you really want to have good output. So, and the juices just aren't flowing when the toddler's around.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, and that's, I've kind of switched more to like a time-based. So instead of telling myself, I'm going to write 1,000 words today, I look at, the schedule or the calendar and I'm like, I've got a half hour at round lunch where I can write. And so I just make the goal about like sitting for that half hour. Now, whether I write 20 words or 1,000 words or 5 words, doesn't matter. We accomplish the goal because again, like you said, like you can't account for when you're feeling creative. You can't really account for when maybe you had a bad day that morning or you have there's all those variables you can't account for. So it's kind of a way to like, I feel like I'm still writing more over time, even though I'm not like getting 1,000 words every day or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. For the first manuscript a couple of years ago that I wrote, the mystery thriller that maybe will see the light of day someday, we'll see, that I was like 1,000 words every day. And if I miss 1,000 words the next day, then 2 days later, I'm doing 2,000 words type of deal. And it did, like, I stuck with it pretty well, but it definitely wasn't my most optimum. Like, there were some days where I'm struggling to push the words out and they're not the best. But now that's not feasible. And I do the same thing, time, because I can't put that pressure on myself. I don't even know how many words I've written. People will post online all the time, like 1,500 words today, or got another 33, I don't know, random numbers. And I'm like, I don't know how much I wrote.
Not even going to count it.
Not going to count it. Yeah.
For sure. So you're self-publishing this book or have self-published this book. So why maybe did you choose that? Did you pursue any of the traditional publishing route? And then what has that whole process been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, man, what a world self-publishing is, right? Like with my first manuscript that, again, years ago, the mystery thriller, that didn't even know about self-publishing. And it was very much, I'm going to get this traditionally published. And I did all the research and knew everything you needed to know about agents and queries and all of that. And I started to go through that process. I think I sent out like 3 queries and I was like, this is exhausting. And I don't think this work is polished enough for me to sell it. And then I had the idea for Neon Noir and I was like, I'm going to write that instead, because this
just novel deflect. We'll just go this way.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And there are some things you learn about going trad they're like do's and don'ts, right? And one of them is don't end your book on a cliffhanger. You need to have a standalone everything is polished, which makes sense because a traditional publisher doesn't want to sign someone on and then the book doesn't do well and then they have this unfinished series. They don't want to deal with that. They want a standalone. I could not make this book a standalone. The main little plot line is resolved, but then the overarching plot is not, and it leads directly into the second book. And I did that on purpose because I like books like that and because I wanted it to lead perfectly into the second book. I wanted you to be like, I need to know what happens next, you know? And it's a bit of a niche. Like cyberpunk it's not huge in what's being marketed right now. So I knew that my chances getting this traditionally published already were very, very, very slim. And the more I wrote it, the more I was like, I don't know if I can get this traditionally published. And so then I started to look into self-publishing. And my previous conception was that, you know, it's kind of like you do it if you fail at a traditional publishing, or that it's kind of a whatever route to go, like self-published. Just the more I looked into it, the more I was completely proven wrong. And I actually got really excited about it. I was like, man, full creative control. I can be there through every single step and it's free. I mean, obviously, like most people who, like I put money into the cover art, I put money into different things, but you in theory can do it for free. And like, that's amazing. So, and the other big thing was the timeline. In theory, if you go the trad route, you can be sending out queries for months and months and months. And then you finally maybe get an agent. And then it's months and months and months and months. And then maybe finally you'll get a publisher. And then maybe it's years before your book actually gets to the shelf. And I was like, I want my book out by the next year. I want to have that book out.
And that's even after potential years that it took you to draft it, write it, edit it.
Right. Like, that didn't even account all that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it could be like 5 years from now and I finally have that book out. And it was like, that's just not, I wanted the book out soon. You know, I have a million book ideas. It would be great to then be able to throw out more because I'll have known all of the ins and outs of indie publishing. So for me, the more I learned about indie, the more excited I got. And then I didn't even bother trying to go the trad route with this. So, yeah.
I'm kind of a old punk rock kid. So I grew up on like Blink-182 and all that kind of stuff. So my thing with self-publishing I just don't think I can follow the rules. Like, I'm just like
yes.
Just like, I don't want to do the thing where someone else controls it and I'm not in control of the destiny of it, you know? So that's always been my thing.
Yeah, because that's a huge part is like, even if you get this agent, they're like, I love your story, but what do they call that? A revise and rewrite. And like, they're going to tell you different parts that they want you to change. And obviously there's a little piece of that when you have beta readers and editors, but it's not to the extent of an agent or an editor who's working for a publisher, because they're specifically like, what is going to sell best? And I've heard so many stories of entire characters written out or endings changed. And I'm just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so like my wife owns a dance studio. And so when we do like competitions and stuff, what she tells the girls is that, yes, you're being judged on some technical things and there's all of that, but it's a creative field. So there's a lot of just like, do they like that style of dance? Do they there's all that personal preference. And I think in any creative field, like writing's that way, like you get it to your agent loves it. Well, a publisher may not because they don't, not because it's bad, but maybe the person that the agent sent it to just didn't like it because it's not their thing. So it's like, have to listen in the sense that obviously you can't be delusional about your story. Like you have to make sure it is actually good, but you could just give it to someone that it is good, but they just don't like it, you know?
Right.
So that's kind of a tough thing to quantify, I think.
For sure.